Hey guys, so I'm just coming on really quick to share my experiences and like some tips in regards to employment and like finding a job. So I can honestly say that we live in a time today where people are kind of confused, right? I talked about this, like the market is changing, right? The market is changing. So what that means is that with the new generation, there are new consumers, right? And so we can study economic trends and see what's working, what's not working, right? So like, for example, there was a point in time where if you went to college and got a college degree, you were literally going to be set for life. Like you were going to be squared away, you were going to have that job. Like it was literally something that was predictably guaranteed, right? Because that was the market, that was the consumers, like that was the market, that was the trend, that was where we were socially. And we're no longer there anymore, right? Right now, the thing is content creation, it's influencer culture, it's entrepreneurship. That's the boom, that's the space. Like this is the time for those who are very creative. So when you start thinking about work and jobs and who gets prioritization, yeah, it's going to be people who actually have experience. And so I want to say this, right? For me, my collegiate experience has been so unique. It's been so unique. I've had about 4 different majors at this point. Who's even still counting? I think it's something that I've continuously pursued, but I also think the more that I start to consider the amount of money that goes into getting the degree, it's a little different. Now, for me, when I went to college, I was after high school, I went to college, and I was like in and out of school. I failed a lot of classes because I was working. Like I didn't have that cushioning backup. I didn't live with my parents. Like I was literally working, so I didn't really have time to, I didn't really have time to like be fully engaged in school. Like I had to work. Like I had stuff to do. Girl, I was just like I didn't have time for that. And even still today, like I don't be having time for it. But this lady called today and she was asking about her niece getting a job. Like, oh, how does she go about getting a job? And I can honestly say the biggest thing is like you really have to apply it's giving real life skills. You know what I mean? Like you have to apply real life skills and, really consider your abilities. And I think the thing about skills is that you really don't acquire them in college. Like you acquire skills from working different jobs. And one thing I would definitely say too, people used to think I was crazy, but in my earlier, I'm still in my 20s, but in my earlier half of my 20s, in and out of college and stuff, I was so big on trying different jobs because of all the majors I had. I was a bio major, I studied organizational leadership, I studied journalism, and I've worked in every industry, right? For me, it was a matter of let me see what I'm capable of. Let me see what I can do. What are some things I'm good at? What are some things I'm not good at? Let's just try it and just see. I've also worked in healthcare. I've worked in healthcare administration. I worked in human resources. I've had all these jobs because I was just applying, just going for it. You know what I mean? I had the confidence, but I also had the experience, right? I was working full time in college. So that's not to, I guess, for anybody who's younger and you're in school and stuff, if you're going to go to school, be ready to lock in and focus and understand that you're not going to have a social life. I hate to say it, but it's true. You know what I mean? And just know what you're really signing up for, because the truth is that if you're going to go to college, you need to have a full-time job, babe. You're not going to be employable. If you don't get a job, you're not going to be employable, period. And the thing about that is you don't necessarily want, as you get older, you want to start finding jobs where you can acquire skills, right? So even in my journalism, working as a copywriter, starting my own, podcast and things like that, being a podcast manager, developing skills for the industries in which I was trying to get in. You know what I mean? So my public speaking, all the things that all the skills that I have today have come by me doing things. It's never come by college. I think for the people who are still living amongst us, obviously, those who are in the generation where having a college degree really was going to get you the job and all the things, and I think it still can. But I think let me just say this, for the people who are still living amongst us who, value a college degree, their college degree worked for them, that's kind of why we still have this mentality that you need this degree to have this job, and you kind of don't though, you do, but you don't. And I think the crazy thing about it is it's really only the limitations you put on yourself. But this first half of the video, I just wanted to say that something I noticed with so many people who are struggling to find jobs is that you're not really employable, because you can literally be trained on the job and you can literally do the job, but you don't have no skills. You don't got no skills. You weren't out here really I'm gonna say this, because one thing I learned is that geography matters. Y'all who be moving out to them big cities, girl, you're playing yourself. You're playing yourself if you think you're about to get up in these big cities and get a job. Are you crazy? Girl, you're already talking about legacy. We already know that's a thing. But then it's like you start talking about people who are really like, and even if it's not necessarily legacy, like if it's not, that type of connector, like, oh, this is my cousin, so this person got the job. It's giving, you're competing with people who really have the resources to actually be successful. Like you're competing with people who have went to Harvard, who have went to, Ivy Leagues, who've had, not even just trust funds, but even people who have scholarships. Like you're competing with people, the competition is way deep. It's way deep, you know what I mean? So I say that to say, I know you're young and you want to have fun, you want to live life, but you got to realize, babe, everything comes at a price, okay? Everything comes at a price. Yeah, you're in this big city and you're doing it up and you have the scenery and you have all this stuff, but it's like, this is what you're giving up. You're giving up potential stability because what you're doing, like you're really, like the times are different now. I think back in the day, let me not say back in the day, I'm going to say like millennial, people who were like at 35, like when you were starting out, you were like, I'm going to be a fashion designer and you were confident, you were making those door-to-door sales calls, you know what I mean? That was a thing and it worked for you. But now it's like we're on social media. You got to be, like, I'm just being honest, it's a little bit saturated. There's no longer this, you don't really stand out anymore as an individual. Like you almost got to go above and beyond to kind of like stand out as an individual because so many people can kind of emulate that thing. You know what I mean? There's so many people in certain industries just because they can be in those industries, which is not a bad thing. Like we're all out here just minding our business. But yeah, so you have to consider that as well, And so if you're going to do it, just know what you're up against, right? Like it may take you a little bit longer versus somebody who pursued that dream or moved to New York in the 90s or the early 2000s. It was a completely different time. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, are you applying? Are you really applying to the jobs? Because one thing I've learned, and even, being honest with myself, I remember harping on not, having certain college experiences and resources. And granted, I didn't, you know what I mean? Neither one of my parents had went to college. But for me, I realized, like, as I was talking to other people and listening to their stories about how they got, funding to go to college, people was really putting in the work applying for them scholarships. I probably applied for about 5 scholarships in my entire life. So to me, it's more so like, you really got to be honest with yourself. Like, am I really putting in the work? And I think that those 3 things will really help you guys in your journey to employment. You know what I mean? And then I will also say too, don't be so like your expectations in regards to work, babe. This isn't YouTube. It's not giving side hustle. It's not giving content creator. It's giving a job as a job. You know what I mean? It's giving, this is enough for now. This is where we at right now. It's not giving dream job. No job is giving dream job. I'm telling you right now. You may not hate it, but it's like there's always going to be pitfalls. Like when I was doing my internships, working as a writer, as an editor, as a copywriter, like I had this attitude of like, okay, yes, I'm finally in my industry. I'm a writer. I'm doing it. Like this is the dream. And it's like, it was like, oh no, I didn't sign up for this. Oh no, I don't like this. Oh no. You know what I mean? And it's like, you just realize that there is no such thing as a dream job. Like it's always going to be something. It's always going to be someone that, you may not click with and, they may not like you or, you know what I mean? Like there's always going to be that, there's always going to be factors that are going to make a job not so enjoyable. So, lower your expectations a little bit. Just understand that this is just work, use it as a vessel, do what you got to do, get it done. Not saying you have to hate your job because I feel like I've been in situations where I literally hate my job. And I've been in situations where I'm like, I don't mind doing this, but it never gave leisure. It never gave content creator lifestyle. It never gave leisure. It never gave fabulosity. It never gave that. It gave the bills are getting paid and I don't mind being here. You know what I mean? And not to say you can't have joy because again, it goes back to perspective, but that's not the part of the video. That's kind of like giving bonus tip. But yeah, those 3 things. Consider those 3 things. Like understand where we're at right now. Be honest with yourself, okay? My dad used to tell me all the time, the only person who's going to lose here is you, okay? So be honest with yourself. Do you have any skills? Okay? Do you have any skills? Like employable, like I'm talking like seriously, right? Like be honest with yourself. And if you don't have skills, understand that you, like everybody else, got to put in work. That work is going to look a little different. And I think work in itself definitively is changing because we know that work now is not really giving work 30 jobs anymore, right? Like that's something I did growing up and, you know, getting my skills. But it's like today, that's not really a thing. People are like working smarter and quote unquote not harder, okay? So be honest with yourself. Do you really have employable skills? Do you have hireable skills that people would actually want to work with you? You know, do you have those things, right? I talk about this all the time. Professionalism in itself is a skill, right? And this is why I'm so utterly concerned for our youth, because the thing about school is like when you go to school back in the day, you would wear a uniform because it was like professionalism. You know, certain things you don't do in school, certain things you don't say. And now here we are today, and it's like those boundaries are kind of erased. But the people who are in positions to hire are those college graduates, which leads to my second point. It's like, right, work is different for them. So yeah, actually having a college degree does kind of like matter. So yeah, but then to my second point, where do you live, right? Are you in freaking LA? Do you need to move out of there? Are you in New York? Are you like, you know what I mean? Not to say it can't happen for you. You're going to do your thing, okay? I'm not here to, listen, I am not a dream killer, okay? I love that for you. But be honest with yourself. You know, you look at people and it's like, you see these content creators, they're doing these things. These are people who went to college, locked down a job, and decided to move to those cities. But you may not be in that position. You may not have the skills, right? And now here you are, and it's like you're not making great choices, right? You're just acquiring a little bit of debt, you know what I mean? Living in debt, like it's just not giving, you know? So it's like, ask yourself, geographically, am I in the right place? Because I can honestly say, living in a smaller town, yeah, you may not have the glitz and glam of like the high lifestyle city experience, but you do have security, stability, and you do have the potential to make more money because your expenses, your living expenses is not giving 70% of your income. So that's just something to consider. And then the third thing, are you applying? Okay, you need to ask yourself, like, be honest with yourself, am I really looking for jobs? Am I really putting in the work to look for the jobs? You know, am I just sending out a resume every now and then? You know what I mean? Like, is it really giving full court press, job search, tailoring the resume specifically to the positions? You know what I mean? Using the skills that I have, compiling that on this PDF form to submit to this specific job, and then doing that 30 times over, revising that several times over for the next JOB. Am I really doing that? You know? So those are just some things to consider. I think that second one is really hitting home though. You know, geographically, I'm telling you right now, it's going to make all the difference. Especially today, right? It's going to make all the difference. So shine bright, shine far, be a star.